I cannot begin without just being like, congratulations.
Man.
Oh my God, on being a New York Times bestseller. We popping bottles, right? We popping bottles? We got bottles? Listen, that's a good one. That's a good one. I'm excited to be sitting here with you. I'm so proud. I'm so happy for you. I know we're supposed to talk about the book, but like,
Right.
But fam,
Today has been a wild day. I mean, I found out on the plane. I was on the plane, and so I didn't know what was going on. I got off the plane. I get all these text messages, and the first thing I do, right, is call my wife. We worked so hard to put this book on the list. It was a community effort. We put out an album. We put out a coloring book. There's a study guide. There were so many people who helped me make this book what it is. And so this is a community win. The community got on the New York Times bestseller list today, right? It's a community win. And, the big thing for me is that it's a book about black folks, about black children, about reparations, and it's on the list. And so I just feel really, really proud of what we were able to accomplish, what we were able to do. And like I said, I can't even go and name all the people, but it's just a moment. And I just feel really blessed that the Creator used me to do it. So I'm just thankful.
What I love that you just said, it's a community win.
Yeah, man.
That's the essence of you, though. Like, you are the type that puts people on. You are that one. I feel like you're in community everywhere. I know you're supposed to be in Georgia, but you're in New York. You technically in the IE. You might as well be in Seattle. Pitt.
Right.
I mean, you in community everywhere, but that's the essence of who you are. I think I told you one time that like my relationship with you has really helped me to level up in terms of loving black women. Ooh. For sure. Because that's what you do. Okay, we can just do words of appreciation all night, but I'm supposed to talk about the book and such.
Thank you.
First of all, y'all got it, right? I mean, okay, all right. Okay, make sure y'all got it. The first question is just a general question about the overarching concept of the book. Like, why did you want to, why this heat right here? What was in your heart that you gave us this heat?
Well, I think, and I want to give a big shout out before I get started on the book. My PR person, Flory, is on the ground. But Flory made it happen at Compton, reached out to Compton Museum first thing. Yesterday we were at San Quentin prison. Flory made that happen. So it was amazing to go inside with these brothers. They had the book, they had the study guide, and one brother was like, on page so-and-so, you? Nah, for real, he was like, you kind of misconstrued these two concepts from Charles Mills and Hobbes. I was like, uh-oh. So when you know how they do like the updated version of the book? Yeah. I will be going back to update a portion of this book because my man, Mr. Wells, told me I had some stuff. It was amazing yesterday. So it's just been so much love on the West Coast. I'm East Coast all day, but y'all done came out and showed out. So it just feels so good to be here and just thank y'all for coming. I've been trying to write this book for a very long time. If anybody, you read the book, the first thing I'm gonna do is talk about where I'm from, right? So I'm from Rochester, New York, upstate New York. I take it hard to be from the Rock. And I went to a huge high school, which was almost 2,000 kids. Wow. And we had an airplane inside our high school. That's how big my high school was. It was a vocational high school. And the freshman class, it was like 600, 700 14-year-olds. That was our freshman class. 4 years later, we graduate about 160, 180 kids. Wow. So we got like a 25% graduation rate. And I remember walking across the stage, 17 years old, and thinking to myself, where the hell is everybody? Yeah. Like I remember looking out into this big auditorium that should be packed, and it was skank. And I just kept thinking, like, where is everybody? Where is everybody? And I don't think it falls on me that I become a teacher.
Yeah.
I don't think, that I become a researcher and I want to research educational reform and what happened. So it was so much about me just trying to answer a question that I've been trying to answer since I was 17 years old, and that's, where my people at? Where was all my friends? Where was all the kids that I walked in 14 years old with? We laughing, we joking, we nervous, and quiet as kept. I'm gonna say this in Compton because y'all had curls for a long time. I went to high school with a curl. By the end of that first week, I didn't have a curl no more because they let me have it. So, it was just beautiful to be 14. It was beautiful to be young. It was beautiful to have hip hop. It was like, I thought we were innocent kids. And I thought we were children. And I didn't know that society didn't see me the way I saw us until that day that I walked across that stage and I didn't see my peers anymore. So I've been trying to write this book for a very, very long time.
From the gut, from the soul.
From the mud. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think too. You remember that speech like freshman year where some mean teacher would always be like, look around.
Turn to your left.
Look around.
Turn to your right. Some of you won't be here anymore. It was real for me.
Yeah.
It was real for me.
And then when you speak those words to young people and in the spirit of young people at the start of their educational journey.
Right.
That's why they don't get to the end.
Right. And so that was really, I went on the journey, I went on the search and trying to figure out what happened to my generation, what happened to the hip hop generation, the post-civil rights generation. I'm 44 years old. Now, no shade to anybody else. I think we the greatest generation to ever do it. Right? And to be real, like, we got receipts for that. Like, we created hip hop. Like, come on.
Yes.
We went to school thinking that we were going to Hillman.
Yeah.
We didn't know Hillman was fake. Like, I thought Hillman was a real, like, where do you apply to Hillman? And we had all three mics. Who had all three mics? Jackson, Jordan, Tyson, game 6. We had all three mics. And then we had a black juicy woman that got on TV every day at 4 o'clock and told everybody what to do. She had white America in the palm of her hand. Like, we watched that. To this day, she still got him in the palm of her hand. Like, we grew up watching black excellence, black creativity, black joy, black capitalism. Like, we thought we were until it all came crashing down. Yeah. And that's really what the book is about. It's about a generation of young people who were young, we were children. And then through policies and laws, we start to see education reform and crime reform merge. And this generation of young folk who thought we could take over the world, we began to be labeled crack babies, thugs, and super predators. And you see how reform and education start to dispose of black children.
Yeah.
And I realized through writing the book, my peers were disposed of through educational reform. And all of these models and all of these ways in which we now have language to dispose of black children.
Yes.
And the book, so I really tried to use the stories of everyday people to tell the story of reform. Because I think sometimes we talk about, we just rattle off reforms. No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top, Goals 2000, At Risk. Like, we just say these things, but we don't realize there's people behind this.
Those concepts.
These are not just reforms that don't have bodies and real people. And so I wanted to use stories to try to capture what it was like for this family or this individual and how they went through that particular reform era.
Yeah.
And so I'm just really proud that people trusted me with their stories. I'm really proud that people trusted me to tell what happened to their families and their legacies. So it's it's an emotional book. And that's why I tried to say, okay, it's going to be it's not we want to do more than survive. Right? I think that was a little joyful. That was like, rah, 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 right? This one was like, yo, this is what they did to us, y'all.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted to put out the album.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted people to be like, yo, this is heavy. Let me put on Purpose to Dreamer album.
Yeah.
Or, let me get the coloring book out. Or let me come to the book tour. Like, I wanted it to be an experience because I wanted people to feel like they were being loved on and cared for as they read the book around black pain and black harm.
You do all of it well. In the first chapter, you're talking to us about the legacy of Brown versus Board of Education. I'm not going to be Mr. Wells, but I got a little quote.
Okay.
So you say many black parents resisted school desegregation, anticipating the racism and anti-blackness their children would endure. The firing of black teachers and the unequal outcomes of black students, even in shiny new buildings. I like that, first of all, you said black folks already knew what was going to go down.
We knew.
Okay?
We knew the okie doke.
But I also like that for some of us, for some of us, you really are reframing this concept of Brown versus Board being like this act of saviorism. Because in history, we hear about Brown versus Board as like, it just freed us all, right? And the nuance that where you're talking about, like, first of all, we asked for equal resources.
We didn't ask.
That's
a fact.
That's a whole
That's
other
a
thing.
fact.
But then you point out, like, that black teachers go, like, all of these things start to happen as a result of desegregation. So can you talk about why it's important to talk about Brown versus Board in that way?
Yeah.
Especially for this new generation of thinkers and learners, right? And then can you talk about the enduring legacy of that, like how we're still dealing with that right now?
So I thought it was important to really start the book before Brown, because I wanted folks to pick up the book and understand what we had, what we had before this idea of white intervention.
Yeah.
And so Leslie Stewart has a book called Black Joy, and she's playing with the work of Zora Neale Hurston. And what Leslie Stewart says is that white people believe that black folks' lives are nothing without white intervention. They believe that our lives are tragic without white intervention. And if you think about Brown, that is what the premises really of what education reform and just this country is about. That our lives are somehow tragic without some type of white intervention. And so that's why I wanted to go back to what we had before Brown. Because I wanted to be very clear that, particularly in the South, the very notion that we would educate the public, that's a black idea. That's the Negro idea. Du Bois talks about that in Reconstruction. That if there was no public education in the South without the Negro, they weren't educating their children. The idea of public education was not something pervasive in America's lexicon until black folks did it. So newly freed black folks, the first thing we did was we built schools. The first thing we did was schools and churches and places to train teachers. Some of the first historically black colleges are to train teachers. We always understood that education was our liberation. So the idea that, we need help, that's not what Brown was about. We wanted our money. Because at many times, black folks, poor working class black folks were paying double. We were paying property taxes for their schools and trying to pay for our schools. We were paying double. So for us, Brown was about our money. It was never about trying to attend white schools. So before Brown, what do we have? We have highly credentialed teachers, black teachers, highly credentialed. Like I was at the University of Georgia for 10 years. The University of Georgia would send black folks to the north and pay for them rather than educate them at UGA. And you have schools all across the South that did that. And they have a record of it. So before I allow you to come here, I'd rather pay you to go to South. So you had black teachers going to Teachers College. You had them going to Harvard. You had them going to the Ivy Leagues. You had them going to the top schools in the country and coming back and teaching. So what we know is that they were highly skilled. In the 17 states that were still segregated, black teachers made upwards of 50% of teachers. Linda Tillman tells us that almost 90,000 black teachers were teaching 2 million black children, and 86% of them were black women. So this incredible work. And then we also know that black teachers are really teaching 7 days a week. 5 days in the classroom, Saturdays in the community, and Sundays, how many churches did they go to? Right, I'm gonna go to your church, I gotta go to your church. You acting up, let me go to your church, I'm gonna find your mama at the church. So they did that work. And Brown versus the Board of Education gutted black education. It gutted black teachers. It also gutted a strong black teacher union. Black teacher unions in the civil rights movement went hand in hand. So after Brown, we see almost 38,000 to 40,000 black teachers gone. Why? It's easy. If I wouldn't let my child sit next to a black child, I ain't gonna let you teach him. 90% of black principals, gone. the curriculum, the relationships, gone after Brown. And so we have to understand what we lost. And I don't even think we could ever measure what we lost. I don't think we can ever talk about really like how do you measure the loss of just this unbelievable force of black educators, black women educators. Now what happens next is that Brown becomes something that's political. This country never really cared about integrating schools, but other countries around the world were saying, how you gonna tell us that you are the beacon of justice, that you are a democracy, and look how you treat black folks? Russia was the main country like, I know you're talking to us. Now, mind you, Russia don't care about black people, but Russia wanted to put the United States on blast for trying to act like they somebody's savior when look how you treat your own citizens. Yep. And so Brown is unanimous, not because this country had this aha moment, but Brown became unanimous decision because they had to make a bigger point to the world that the United States was a global leader in democracy. So Brown is so much a political. But then this country went into massive resistance after Brown. Yep. And that's what legal scholars call it, massive resistance. Schools in Virginia and Arkansas, they closed all schools.
Yeah, yeah.
They said, you know what? We'll close all schools. White children, you ain't going to school either. Before we integrate schools, we will close all schools. Yep. Fire all teachers, black teachers. Any legislation, they changed. Yep. The rules to become a teacher, all types of tests, all types of new stuff, all that just started happening. But they also expanded the suburbs, took resources away from black communities and urban communities and expanded the suburbs. The suburbs were around, but they weren't what they are today. They didn't have roads, they didn't have water. All that came after Brown because they ran. White flight. They created their own public schools, their own private schools, called segregation academies. Yep. And they got tax breaks to do it from the US government. And so now you see the gutting of public education. And so when people are like, well, you know, education is underfunded. Why is it underfunded? Because y'all took the money. Yep. Because y'all left us. So we have to be able to talk about that. And even the way we talk about our children. You know, we have this language that's left over from Brown, left over from white supremacy that we use all the time. Well, you know, these children are at risk. At risk of who? At risk of what? Who put them at risk? Oh, you know, they're underprivileged. Well, who overprivileged? Yeah. Or, you know, this is the first generation of college students. Is it the first generation or the first group you let in? Like, we got to be asking these questions. Because the way we frame our children has so much to do with the very idea that black folks had the audacity we had the audacity to fight. Yep. We had the audacity to help this country become a democracy. And we have been penalized, and that's where, you know, this title comes from. Yeah. We've been punished for dreaming. Yeah. Right? And Brown was the critical case, and I would argue that right now in 2023, this is revenge. What you are seeing with the banning of this and the banning of that and the firing of this, we are in revenge season.
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action. It's revenge. Yep. And what we don't talk about enough after Brown, and what the book tries to do is says, after Brown, they weren't just mad, they got organized. Yes. You know, before Brown versus the Board of Education, yes, they were racist. Yes, they were the Ku Klux Klan, of course. But they weren't organized. They weren't think tanks. They weren't building national media conglomerates. They were not having nonprofits and John Birch societies. They were just ragtime, racist, hateful people. But after Brown, they said, no. The federal government has gone too far. They will never be able to make us do something like this again. And we are going to get organized. Yep. And what we are now seeing is the proliferation of them becoming organized. Yeah. Thank you.
Y'all, I swear I got questions and I'm prepared. But she be talking about stuff and I be feeling like we at the kitchen table. I'm trying to I kind of want to sit there just a little bit longer before the next question. Because especially when we come to affirmative action. And you talking about them being organized. Can we discuss what it looks like for us to meet that moment. I mean, I feel like right now, a lot of folks are in this space of like, yes, we are feeling the white lash, we are feeling the backlash. Like we know that there's a battle. Sometimes I don't feel like us liberals are as organized as they are. Can we just anything you want to say about that? Because I feel like I keep going, but just anything you want to say about what we need to do to get to be ready to meet that moment.
Yeah, I really think that we believe that we're doing the work of social justice. And I think we are doing the work of social justice. And I think we believe that this is hard work. And it is hard work. And we're doing it because we believe, we're doing it because we want to see better for our children, we're doing it out of the kindness of our heart. They're doing it out of strategy.
That's the thing.
They're playing the long game.
Yes, that's the thing.
And so we got to understand that, yes, this is beautiful. Yes, you love all kids. But where is the strategy?
Yes.
Where is the organization?
Yes.
And how do we heal ourselves in our movements?
Yes.
And I don't think we're talking enough about how we heal ourselves in our movements.
Yeah.
Because what happens is we go 100 miles an hour and we flutter out and we're doing harm all the way as we flutter out.
Yep.
We're not understanding that the attacks are going to come. And when the attacks come, you got to be ready.
Yep.
You got to be spiritually ready, emotionally ready, financially ready. And we're not ready.
Nope.
And we've done harm. And now we've fluttered out. And so I would say to us, this may seem counterproductive, but at the end of the day, it works. Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. Right? A part of white supremacy is urgency.
Yes.
And this urgency makes you do harm. This urgency to go fast makes you leave people out. It makes you hurt people. It makes you dismiss people. It makes you ignore people. And I'm saying that out of experience. I'm saying that because I know I've done that type of harm. Just trying to, moving at the speed of white supremacy. You will do harm.
Yeah.
And so we just can't say we want to get organized and we got an organization, but we don't have the foundation to hold that organization.
Yeah.
And you asking me the question, but you really the guru at that. Because you got the organization. Y'all got to see the place that Torie has created for young people. It is amazing. An amazing space. Y'all got an outdoor oven. They got the oven is
pizza oven.
They got an oven the size of this right here. It's a beautiful space. Gardens, lemon trees, all types of stuff. But that's what I'm talking about. Like when we talk about you, it's like, yo, this is what this black woman is building for our kids. And slowing down to do it. I've seen you slow down, quit your job,
No, you right about that? Yeah, you right about that.
But it's to lay the foundation.
Yeah.
So when you as our mentor would say, when you go sit down, right, our mentor is Dr. Cynthia Dillard, that when you go sit down, the foundation is laid so the young folk can come in your shoes and do it either better than you.
Hopefully, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
At your level, or remix it to whatever they're going to have it be.
Absolutely.
But the foundation is laid. So I think when we organize, we got to organize making sure that we lay the foundation.
Yeah.
But moving at the speed of white supremacy, we always flutter out.
Nowhere. No, you're right. All of those were gems. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Chapter 4, since we're talking about the organization.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I had some feelings about chapter 4 in the entrepreneurship.
Oh, man.
It wasn't bad feelings, because I know I'm on the right side of stuff.
I ain't talking about you.
But I really do want to talk about that section, because as an educator, so I taught AP.
Okay.
That was my first, the College Board ain't. Yeah, I'm going to keep it clean. I don't know if little kids are here, but I was like, College Board, trash AF. I remember thinking that. But you really like lay out how much money these so-called social entrepreneurs are coming in to make off the backs of black youth being named, marginalized, at risk, and all of these other things. So let's talk about that for a minute. Like, why this chapter? What are you trying to get us to understand? And how should we challenge this? Because I think that that's another critical aspect is like, we're like, well, I guess they're doing a little bit of good somewhere, so leave them alone. Mm-hmm. But I think that we should problematize that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so, I think the very essence, thank you. I think the very essence of what it means to be an entrepreneur has to be troubled. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes we're like, oh, they're entrepreneurs, But what does it mean to be an educational entrepreneur?
Yeah.
That means you get to fail. Like, failure is a part of entrepreneurship.
Yes,
you
it
fail.
is.
Well, who are these people failing with? They failing with our babies in our communities, causing a crisis. Then want to come in and be the saviors of the crisis, the profit off the crisis that they created because they're entrepreneurs. So you got to think about it. These white folks have made middle-class jobs for their children. They came in the 80s and 90s, made a mess, and now got their children talking about they doing Teach for America, saving black children to come in and be the saviors of the mess that their parents made. Mm-hmm. And so now they got middle-class jobs, calling themselves entrepreneurs, right? But you have to fail on somebody. And so they get to fail, but when we so-called fail from the system that they have created that is rigged, then you want to close our schools.
Yeah.
You want to close. You want to say that our children have an achievement gap, right? And so we have to be able to understand how calculated this is, and that these individuals have no experience, get to create curriculum, get to build schools, all they got is a really shiny slide deck.
Pretty much.
The slide deck be nice.
Cute little pitch deck, yep.
They got a pitch deck,
Yep.
and they got a degree, and they really get to be the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And it's open season. I mean, I talk about in the book, in Michigan, you had about 70 charter schools that never opened but got the startup money.
That's the thing.
They never opened, but they got the startup money. You have the White Hat organization that buys up charter schools, puts them in, and then charges the charter school for the building.
Yeah.
Right? This is big money. You have celebrities who invest in charter schools.
Yep.
You have hedge fund operators who invest in charter schools.
Yep.
So everybody understands that this is a billion-dollar industry.
Right.
And if I can extract as much of this money away from the actual children and their communities, then I'm an entrepreneur. You're not an entrepreneur, what I call in the book, you are a super predator.
Yes.
And we got to be able to name names and call them what they are. They are super predators. They are preying on us. They are preying on our communities, and then got the audacity to tell us we failed.
We failed, yeah.
No, the system you created ensured that we failed.
Yeah.
And you got the audacity to come and profit off of it.
Yep.
You are the super predator.
Yep.
So we got to be, like, again, language is important.
Yeah.
I think language helps you name your oppressor. So when you can name your oppressor, then you know who's oppressing you, so you know who to go after.
Yeah.
But if you don't know who to go after, then you don't know what you're doing. So what I try in the book is be very deliberate about naming who is doing the harm.
Yeah. And that's key too, because as a person who runs a nonprofit, like I'm reading that chapter and I'm thinking about the numbers, and it's never the folks like you who are operating this spot that get in the room with the Chan Zuckerberg to get the millions of dollars to operate, right? It's a certain type of nonprofit social entrepreneur who gets into a space to be able to get $1 billion grant, couple $1 million grants, right?
And that's what I talk about in the philanthropy chapter.
Yep, there
right?
you go.
Because what we know is that white philanthropy is is a leg of the government.
It is.
It tries to function as it is not part of the government, but the philanthropy will do the bidding of the government.
Oh, absolutely.
It will always do the bidding of the government. That's how it stays funded. That's how you get your tax breaks, by doing the bidding of the government. So white philanthropy, we talk about the nonprofit industrial complex.
Yep.
It is only going to do the bidding of what white America wants.
Yeah.
And so what you saw right after the uprisings of the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, what my man Dave Stovall would call, you saw blood money.
Yep.
You saw blood money flooding. And what we've seen, and I talk about it in the book, throughout, particularly during the civil rights movement, you saw philanthropy come in and say, quiet down. Y'all need, this is the programs y'all want? Oh, we'll fund those programs.
Yep.
Why you didn't fund them before? Oh, but now we'll fund them. Now we'll talk about them. Now we want to fund you, right?
Yep.
Because we want you to quiet it down.
Yep.
And so philanthropy is used in a way in which to keep us at bay. It is
Yes.
what they call a coolant agent. So when we start to rebel rouse and we start to get in that street, they flood us with money.
Yep.
Because they want to cool us down. So now you got money for youth programs.
Yeah.
Now you got money for after school programs. Now you got this money because now you want to say and look, oh my God, what is going on? We want to help. You want to help now because it's political to help.
Right.
It's advantageous to help.
Right.
And what we're seeing right now is that they done helped for the last 3 years, now they gone.
They're gone already. They're gone
All
already.
the commitments that they made gone.
Yep.
Black women getting let go, fired, on these DEI positions.
Yep.
Right? Because they're done. They're looking at the political spectrum. They're looking at the political say, oh, it's not advantageous anymore to do social justice work.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. Oh, we don't know. We're not doing that no more. We all Black Lives Matter. We done with that.
Yep.
And so even after the after the affirmative action decision, the very next day we saw Netflix, Disney, all of them let go. Or they just left.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was political 3 years ago to do
Yeah.
that type of work.
Yeah.
But now it's not political anymore from them. They don't feel like they're going to get any bang for their buck. And so what we also talk about is like this venture philanthropy, where I'm doing philanthropy only to make a buck.
Yeah.
And if I'm not doing it to make a buck, I'm at least doing it for PR. So I look like
That
I'm
part.
about that work. I'm about social justice.
Yes.
And that is what we really see when we think about philanthropy as a whole in this country and how it works to cool off social unrest.
Yes. Yes. Whew. Yes. And without making any long-term impact.
You know,
Zero.
like, and this is why, again, I'm going to keep fangirling you, right? I'm going to keep talking about you. It's because the job of philanthropy should be to put itself out of business. Right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
billion-dollar philanthropists, and they only spend the interest every year.
Yeah.
They got
Less than
$50
5%.
billion, and they spend the interest.
Yeah. Yeah. The
You
rule
ain't
is
trying
less
to
than
put
5.
yourself out of business. You ain't trying to do this work.
Listen, I don't even know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it. We had a conversation on our board for it was like a 3-minute conversation. Dr. Bob Ross, who runs the California Endowment, said, y'all want to spin down? Let me tell you how quiet that room got.
Yeah.
Quiet.
Uh-huh.
He was like, all right, next item.
But that is it. They want to stay in power.
Yep.
And they want to keep doing this work of white intervention.
Yep.
But the very idea of liberation is nowhere on the table.
Yeah.
Or that the very idea of what they have actually is ours.
Yeah. In the first place.
So you're not really giving me a grant. You're making a down payment on what you owe me.
Yeah.
Because you already in the red.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I went to school on a basketball scholarship. I didn't get a scholarship. That's what they owe me. That's why I left with 2 degrees. Because you're not giving me anything. If you understand what black folks have done in this country, you have an outstanding debt. So any little dime you give, you just trying to get yourself out of red. There's no such thing as grants and scholarships for black folks in this country.
It's reparations.
You just thank you. You paying on what you already owe.
Yep.
So let's get a balance sheet running.
That's right. That's what it is. Look. Okay, I want to ask this question.
Okay.
During COVID, with the COVID year, that first COVID year, that year that we all got put out of our classrooms,
Man.
okay, that was my last year of teaching. I was praying, this is probably terrible, but I was praying that schools would break. I was like, man, maybe if this thing lasts long enough and we all figure out how to survive without schools, we ain't going back. But then we went back. And then not only did we go back, it's like worse in a lot of ways.
We went back.
Yes. And it seems like everybody is cool with that status quo. So my question for you is, why, Black folks in particular, why do we continue to invest in a system that we know doesn't want us, doesn't love us, ain't trying to, I know, the disappointment. But I mean, especially given the creative ways people learned to adapt during COVID, I'm like, why don't we just divest?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think the data is showing that we are.
Okay.
And so if you look at, it's a brand new report, just came out, I think last month, 2023 sometimes. It just came out, private schools went up around 6%.
Okay.
Homeschooling exploded. And so you are seeing some of that happening right now. There's a professor out of UGA who does work on Black homeschooling, Cheryl Smithfield.
Oh, okay.
And Black homeschooling exploded during the pandemic.
Right.
So it is happening.
Okay, I'm encouraged.
Be encouraged. Be encouraged. But I do want to say this, though. I never want us to abandon the public.
Ooh, okay.
I think we can critique. Like, let me be clear. I have strong critiques about public education. I'm an abolitionist. So I am someone who not just wants to reform education. I would like to disband, destroy this thing. But that doesn't mean I don't believe in public education.
Yeah.
I believe in the public. Because what we have to be very careful about is that if we abandon the public, they will privatize this thing.
Yeah.
They are trying to privatize this thing.
Yeah.
That's why they are creating crisis after crisis with no proof of a crisis. Because if they can make the public believe that this public good is no longer serving the public, then you can privatize it.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Like I always want anybody to do what is best for their child.
Right.
But when we abandon the public, then we are abandoning one of the pillars of democracy, which is public education.
Yeah.
Right? Free elections, public education, and a free press is what makes us the hallmarks of a democracy.
Right.
And so we got to be clear about supporting public education, demanding that this right here ain't working.
Yeah.
But we also got to be clear to support public education.
Yeah.
Because without public education, they will try to do what they have done in other countries like Chile and all these other places where you have different strands of public education.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And so you can see what Milton Friedman and these economists of the 80s and 90s have done around the world. And they would love to bring that here.
Yeah.
Where if you are poor, you get a poor education. You get a middle class education. You get a rich education.
Yeah.
And that's their public education tiers that they have in other countries. And they would love to bring that here.
Yeah.
So I'm always cautious about throwing away the public because I don't ever want them to say, well, let's privatize it then.
Yeah.
And that is what they're going to say.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope as abolitionists, as people who critique the school reform movement, to make sure that we are articulating what we want. We want equitable, loving, thoughtful schools with clean water. We would like schools to have working AC and HVACs that are actually not hurting our children.
Yeah.
We have schools in this country where the HVAC systems and the pollution and the things that we use, the chemicals that we use to kill bugs and rodents that are actually causing learning disabilities in our children. So the place that you are supposed to learn at, the place that is penalizing you for not so-called learning is also contributing to learning disabilities because of the air quality at that school.
Yeah.
So, as a country, yes, there are serious demands that we have for public education, but I still believe in public education because I'm sitting here as a product of public education.
Yeah.
So it's a slippery slope that I think we always have to be talking about, refining, but never abandoning the public.
Respect. Yeah, I appreciate that. To your point, in your last book, Education Won't Save Us, we are going to save education. All right, I hear you. I'll take that in. So let's talk about education reparations.
Let's do
Somebody
it.
giving me a time mark too, because I'm just gonna talk to the homie till y'all tell me to stop talking.
Okay.
Oh dang. Okay.
We're going to sign books. We got Q&A. We're going to sign books. There you go. Okay.
Okay. Woo. Yeah. I'm
Last
gonna skip that
question. Okay, we're
then.
going to sign books. Okay, last
Okay.
one. Okay.
So I want to skip to the question about freedom dreams. So I was going to ask you about education reparations and that figure. Let's just blend it all together, right? Let's just say
My
they give
freedom
us all the
dream
money.
is reparation. Okay, there we go.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
Well, let's just say they give us all the money. Well, then what does it look like after that? What's our freedom dream?
So let's say they give us all the money. I think to be very clear, I want us to understand that if they were to give us the money, what that would mean about democracy and society in this country.
Ooh.
So if they were to give us the money, that means they apologized. So it's a whole different country. Because reparations is not just about a check. It's important. We want our money, coins, please. But reparations, the fullness of reparations is to also say that you are going to atone for harm.
Yeah.
That you are going to atone, you are going to apologize, and you are going to stop doing harm. Mm-hmm. That's the fullness of reparations.
Yeah.
Right? I write in the book and I say very clear, the same folks who created this problem can't get on the reparations train. Mm-hmm. And I say in the book, Bill Gates, please don't come over here.
No.
You've done enough harm, and the same people that have done harm will say, we got a grant out. We just released the, what do they call it?
R.I.P.
R.I.P. There you go. There you go. And we're doing, we're like, oh, man.
No.
So we got to be clear that if this country, for instance, let's say we got rid of police in schools tomorrow. That's not just a shift. It would mean that we fundamentally as a country, as a people, now understand the harm that police have done, that the type of repair that is needed, and we are moving in a direction of love and care and grace to young people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these freedom dreams are about us radically changing the structure and the system to be loving and kind and thoughtful and have an ounce of damn integrity.
Yeah.
And so my freedom dream is if we were to get reparations, it would mean that we were a different society.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think reparations is definitely not in my lifetime. Oh, but it's coming.
Yeah. It's coming.
It's coming because that's the only thing that's left really is reparation. They've tried everything, but they haven't apologized. They haven't atoned for the harm, right? And so I think, I hope when I'm 80, 85, Chelsea and I on the rockers, and some checks being cut.
Yeah.
All right, because we in California, right? Y'all have taken up reparations the most seriously examined of reparations since Reconstruction. Now I don't know what Newsom gonna do. I don't know if he's gonna weasel out when it comes to cutting that check. I think he's gonna think very deeply, and he's probably gonna come up with some big ticket items. I don't think he don't got the oomph to cut that check.
Cut the check.
Right? But the very fact that we're here, what's the next one gonna do?
Yeah.
The next one gonna do.
Yeah.
And the best example I can give y'all of that is the Occupy movement.
Yeah.
15 years ago, these folks came around talking crazy. 15 years ago, we had crazy white folks in New York City talking about, there's 1% and a 99%. And we all were like, what you say? So you mean to tell me we the 99% of wealth and we the 1%? Yeah. Occupy movement was like, all y'all in debt. We all in debt? Yeah, all y'all in school debt and medical debt. And it changed the course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was revolutionary what they did. We don't talk about them enough. But they gave us brand new language around debt, around wealth, and it's changing how we think. It's changing how we move. Poor little Uncle Joe right now. Uncle Joe trying to, poor Uncle Joe, Lord. We ain't gonna get it. Uncle Joe.
They gonna clown Uncle Joe?
I call Uncle Joe. You remember Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, Uncle Joe?
Oh my God.
We ain't gonna talk about Uncle Joe. But Uncle Joe doing his best when it comes, right, to loan forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's doing his best. Even when they said you can't do it, Uncle Joe said, I'll go around y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll go around. And so we're here. Yeah. We're here thinking very deeply around student loan debt.
Yeah.
We're thinking, like, what will the next person do? Mm-hmm. And the next. Mm-hmm. So it's here.
Yeah.
You know, these are ideas that are laying around, and somebody gonna pick them up.
Yeah.
And when they pick them up, hopefully they pick them up. The ideas laying around, hopefully they pick up the justice ideas more than other ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing with reparation committees popping up in New York and Detroit. Reparation committee right now that's happening, giving out real money in Livingston, Illinois right now. Like, it's happening all over the country, really small pockets, but it is happening.
Yeah.
So my goal with this book is to try to say, hold on. We think about reparations in terms of you're black, you're denied a home loan. You're black, your business is devalued.
Yeah.
You're black, you don't get, you are mass incarceration, what Erica Miner calls targeted mass incarceration, police brutality. These are the, these are the right levers for reparations.
Yeah.
But I would argue that before you are black and denied a home loan, before you are black and denied a business loan, you are educated in American schools.
Yep.
And that type of harm that is happening is going to impact your lifelong learning and earning potential.
Yes. Yeah.
So you are impacting the type of life I'm going to give my kids, my grandkids, because of the education that I got that was truly unequal and unjust and harmful and violent because of the color of my skin.
Yeah.
Just like the prison industrial complex, just like the loan and banking industry, we got to put them all together and see education as a part of reparations, not just something on the side, but see it as a lever, just like home loans and business loans and all of that stuff. So that's, for me, is what I try to do in the book, is to talk about education as a lever for reparations.
Absolutely. Woo!
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Thank you for writing love. Thank you for writing truth. Thank you for writing affirmation. Thank you for writing in the tradition, in the black feminist tradition.
Thank you.
Thank you for this gift that is punished for dreaming.